and there are various species within each. I will be talking you through each section. And remember, when you hear this noise, you should stop the tape and start it again when you reach the next area. Pear is home to our very prolific herds of Pear-David and Fallow deer. The Pear-David deer represent an amazing conservation success, with the wild population in China suffering a flood in 1894, and with the remainder of the herd killed for food by starving peasants of the Boxer Revolution in 1900. The outlook for the species was bleak, to say the least. It was only the foresight of the 11th Duke of Bedford who collected 18 captive animals from all over Europe and established a successful breeding herd at Woburn that gave them a chance of survival. To prevent further breeding, perhaps more importantly, this will save the problems of trying to relocate the cubs into other zoological collections. When we first exhibited tigers many years ago, they were a drive-through exhibit like the lions. But in practice, they proved very difficult for the keepers to watch over, with individuals slinking off and causing mayhem and problems for our keepers on the gates. Worst of all, the female tigers walking with a limp on its front leg. This animal, when playing as a cub, suffered a gash behind its claw, and despite 2 operations to remove the claw and obstructing bone, she still walks with a limp. She doesn't appear to be. This area has been widened to free, rather than queue for long periods on busy days. Since the park's opening in 1971, we have bred many generations of lions. The only additions have been new unrelated males, which were introduced at convenient times to avoid any inbreeding problems from developing. There have been some superb documentaries on TV depicting the hard and savage life of lion society. All male lions are eventually forcefully evicted from the pride by the resident pride male when they are perceived as a threat to his position. This would normally be after they were at least 2 years old, and the whole objective from this point is to mature and grow strong enough to achieve pride male status themselves.
Okay, you're very close.
How many achieve this goal,
God,
I don't know.
Size. Would you imagine
Many
having
live
one
out
of
their
those?
lives in a lonely nomadic existence, never having successfully fought for control of their own pride. The whole scenario can be compared to a top sportsman, or even a boxer or fighter. Just imagine the worst-case scenario. After being forcibly evicted from his family or pride, the young male spends the next few years growing and honing his skills for the battle to come. He's now 5 or 6 years old, and at the peak of his strength and fitness, when he stumbles across a pride and decides this is his moment. He takes on and defeats the resident male in a savage battle. He's made it at last. He belongs again. He's reached the top of his game. There's never time to relax. And the very next day, he's confronted by an even stronger male and deposed from his throne as king of the jungle. He never recovers that this activity is interspersed with serious play sessions and occasional fighting. Feeding the lions is done when the lions enter their house at the end of the day. And during the last hour of opening, they will always be viewed near the house, awaiting the last cart
I'm just guessing.
and dinner to be served. This is normally in the form of pigs' heads, which are good individual helping and avoid squabbling, and everyone gets their share together. The sound of 18 fear of man here at Knowsley. Occasionally the pride will hunt down and catch the odd rabbit and pheasant that unwittingly enter their area. Like all the animals in the park, the lions have names for ID purposes, and the keepers record all dates of matings, so that a week before a lioness is due to give birth, she is put in the maternity wing of the main house to rear her cubs. Normally ones of extreme drought, or if being pursued by a predator, the female may eject the joey in order to save herself. Should times change, a reserve embryo, which is being held in a suspended state of development, is implanted into the uterus, allowing the female a second chance to breed that season. There are some 57 species of kangaroo, and the kangaroos are the most advanced of the marsupial. It's from this species that all our domestic chickens owe their origins. Unlike so many chickens, our jungle fowl are totally free range, roost in trees. They can often be seen with chicks from June to September, so please drive carefully.
Don't drink too much.
Horned oryx, Nyala and Sitatunga that all happily coexist in this area
It's
are all from
stirring at me.
and are not designed with coats to withstand our climate in Merseyside.
Stirring.
Dry cold is not so much of a problem.
Have you
for them.
seen it?
It's the wind chill, cold rain and sleet that they really can't cope with. Even in the spring and autumn, you may well see them in shelters or diving for cover from a cold shower. Many visitors I see ask how the animals adapt to our climate.
What is staring at me?
It amazes me just how hardy these animals are, and also how weak we humans are
Is
in
it
comparison.
stuff that?
As I've said, it's very important to provide these species with shelter, food and dry bedding throughout the winter. I'm sure the animals must hate the winter. It's cold, rain, snow, and long periods of darkness, just like you and I. In their native Africa, they would probably have had to endure a dry season of 2 or 3 months.
Stay away
Food
from
and
the
water
car.
become very
I'm
scarce,
serious.
and the heat is intense. They lose condition and have to hang on desperately for the rains and the promise of grass that rapidly follows. Here at Knowsley, although food is not scarce and the rain never stops, they all long for the warmth and the fresh grass of the spring. During the winter, all the animals not prepared for our climate have houses or shelters to go into. But from late spring until autumn, most of our animals will stay out all night. The exceptions are the lions, tigers and elephants, which are housed each evening so the keepers and I can sleep at night. Installed the new car-friendly route to view them. And I do hope those of you who are not prepared to put their cars at potential risk from these vandals have already elected to take this route. If you haven't, to climb ever up the social scale. Discipline and respect for your elders are the main rules in baboon society. With much gain an edge to be accepted that extra rung up the social ladder. It can look like a road to social chaos, but in reality, it's really quite the opposite.
What is it?
The baboons spend many hours meticulously grooming one another. This activity is one of the few in baboon society that does not involve their social status, and you will often see adult males grooming smaller members. The grooming exercise is vitally important to the formation of a bonded, cohesive group, apart from keeping themselves clean and free of parasites. During the winter, the baboons take to their house at night, but during the summer months, they prefer roosting in the trees. Here, the peace on a still night is constantly broken by the squabbles and disputes in the treetops throughout the night. The zebra share this reserve with the baboons. They used to be exhibited with the other species in the African plains area, but when they started to kick and worry the newborn of other animals, we decided to relocate them with the baboons. And here, we have built a new rhino house and yards to cope with the ever-increasing numbers. And with this huge amount of space available, we should be able to maintain up to 12 animals in the future. They really do look like a Jurassic leftover, an armoured tank, with their hide being up to 1.5 inches thick in places, and formidable horns. Adults do not have to worry about predators in the wild, except man, who will poach them for the horns. The rhino use their horns and observe them through the fence for safety. We would normally give them a small fenced paddock area to continue the familiarization process and get them used to the sight and restraints of our security fencing. Depending on the species in question, this can take between days and months. But when the decision is made to release into the main reserve, we have to be sure that their release causes no surprise or reaction from the others, and they are free to gently go and explore their new spacious surroundings. Sometimes reintroduced after weaning. Many people say to me they would love to be a keeper working here, and I suppose it has a rather glamorous image, with a hint of danger from the various species being looked after. It can indeed be a dangerous occupation if our safe system of working practice is not strictly adhered to. I often think that working with lions and tigers were one wrong decision. Great baboon escape of '71. It was a few weeks after the park opened when our monkey keeper drove up first thing in the morning into the area and shoveled out all the fruit and veg for the baboons to eat. After he finished, he looked around to find not a baboon in sight. But the comical scene that met our eyes was never to be forgotten. Just before we'd arrived, police reinforcements had got there, and a line of about 20 uniformed police with puncheons drawn were facing 80 baboons in a line atop the wall some 60 yards away. It seemed to be a standoff situation, with the baboons barking and shouting in baboon language at the police.
Right, they're
but even
coming.
funnier were the faces of the policemen, looking at their truncheons and wondering how on earth they were going to deal with this.
I've got to
What
get
the
that
sergeant
one.
might tell them.
Good baby.
As for the baboons, one had to wonder
For the baby.
what were their intentions as they looked down over Kirby, looking to take it by storm. Set up home. did they have a quick raid in mind before retreating back over the wall into the sanctuary of the park. It really was a totally ludicrous scene,
No.
which in the end was brought to a successful conclusion, with the keepers driving them back
That's
in
the
an
one I was
orderly
looking
retreat
at
to their
before.
monkey jungle. And they even obliged us by going back through the small hole that the contractors had left.
Climbing on the car.
As we drive on, you will eventually pass through our first reserve again, and I will rejoin you when you reach the elephants at the end of the safari drive.
Hey, you've seen those ones on my side.
Another question regularly asked is if I have a favourite species or animal in the collection. My initial response is to say all of them. Chota, who is the leader or matriarch of our herd, and who I've known or regime, is now totally non-confrontational, with handling of any kind kept to a barest minimum, affording the animals the opportunity to be elephants without ever having to confront or ask an elephant to do anything it doesn't want to do. The end result has seen the herd cohesively bond and form its own structural society and pecking order with previously odd or flamboyant misfit.
Oh, thank you for that performance. I really enjoyed that.
We've had your window.
We have extended their range in the fields to the rear and built a new raised viewing platform, where during the summer months you can witness a rare sight of a captive herd of elephants grazing naturally as they would back home. The end result is very satisfying. And I would have to reply,
Oh, we got one of the
was the finest achievement in my 34 years. At this point, you can get out of your car and view the elephants from the fence. Our elephant keepers will be on hand to answer all your questions every afternoon. I suggest you track them down and ask away, as they can probably respond better than I, and you probably need to stretch your legs. As our tour comes to an end, there's still lots more to see and do.
What happened?
Included in your admission price is the children's farm, reptile house, and sea lion and parrot show. Not forgetting our otter, meerkat and giraffe exhibits.
To
reach the elephant viewing platform, you have to pass through.
Oh, can we watch? Check. Hey, Mom, can we watch? Hey, Mom, what's on the tree?
You will do. You've got all day, Jessica.
Jessica, the big monkey, big. Mom, look at this fat one.
Can't see.
It's
Wrong
upside
side.
Jessica. What the fat monkeys couldn't fit on?
Yeah, that is that.
Actually, look. Gorilla. It isn't a gorilla. What is it?
This bum looks like your face, Jessica.
She had a really punchy for saying that to my little sister. Mom, look! There's one giant one on the car.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's coming near the front one. Think it likes pictures. I'm gonna tell Nana about this monkey.
Get off.
Hey!
Get off. Off.
Just squirt water at it.
I'm not watering.
You're no good, are you?
He's alright. Don't worry, it's on the back. Whoa!
Yeah.
It's a fly.
Get off! Get out the car!
It's a fly! It's a fly! Get off now. Dad! Do this to window. Push. Try and push it off.
No, don't show it the windscreen wipers. Get off!
He's trying to bite the car. Stand back the car. You ready? No flow. Scubit, stay on. We'll stop him and see if he gets off.
He's pissing on my car.
Ew! I have seen this. I have never been good. I just knew it was going to be on the car. Tell Dad.
Get off!
Get off! Dad, tell Luke. The monkey pee. The monkey wee.
Get up!
You think, car.
Oh, no.
Say it. Tell Kevin. Dad.
Get off the car!